welcome back to our channel. If you are new here, I am Caitlin. Please like, share, and subscribe our video. So it is currently, I don't even know what time it is anymore. I think it's like 3 a.m., 3:30 maybe. It's after 3. Really? So my husband just yelled from the bedroom. It's 3:22. So, facts, it's 3:22 in the morning. And today has been a crazy day. So I haven't gotten too much into like the girls yet, but because today was a crazy day, I wanted to go ahead and document this so that I wouldn't forget anything. So Millie is my baby B. She was 2 pounds, 9 ounces when she was born, and she was born with a clubfoot. It was super mild. They actually thought that it might have just been positional when she was born, meaning that it possibly could have just been turned the way that it was because of her being in utero with 2 other babies and being cramped for 30 weeks and blah, blah, blah. It wasn't positional, it's clubfoot. So we stretched her for, we didn't really do anything while she was in the NICU. When we went home, we stretched her foot for about 2 months, maybe 3, before we decided that we should probably go to ortho and the orthopedist. And we went to orthopedist and had her casted. So the process for clubfoot is that clubfoot feet, she only has 1, so ours is clubfoot. I don't know if it's club feet or still just clubfoot with 2, whatever. Y'all, I'm losing it. Okay, so the process is that you go into serial casting, which just means several different casts. Millie only ever needed 2 casts, which is pretty mild, not a big deal when you're 3 months old. It is a big deal when you're 20, almost 21 months old. Okay, so 3 months old, we get casted. She has 2 casts. Then straight after the cast, she goes into a brace. So the brace, there's 2 different ones. One is called the Dobbs bar. It is the more current. It has, I actually have it, but I didn't grab it, sorry. So it's a bar, and then it has hinges on the feet. So when she moves her legs and hips, her knees and hips, I'm sorry, she can move her feet up and down. The Poncetti bar is just a straight bar, and when she bends her knees, both feet go up. The Dobbs, 1 foot can go up, 1 foot can stay down, whatever. They both can go up, they both can go down. So we had a pretty crazy time with bracing because Millie is a 30-weeker, which means she was not fully developed. She was not even close to fully developed. And at 30 weeks, your skin is very underdeveloped. She was still really pink and red, purple at birth, but then that changes, and it's just, their skin dries out super easily. It can crack. It is, she had to be in a special isolate, I think about at least a week, maybe into 2 weeks, that actually had humidity in the y'all, I can't even talk. Had humidity in the actual isolate so that it was helping her skin to develop. So when we went into our brace, we have what are called Dobbs boots, not Dobbs boots, Mitchell boots that attach to the Dobbs bar. I will put a picture of Mitchell boots and a Dobbs bar and a Poncetti bar. So we went into the Mitchell boots, and as you can see, there's 3 straps, a top and a middle and on the toe. And what they tell you, the most important strap is the middle strap, because you need to be sure that you're getting that heel down into that boot so that the position is correct. Well, let me tell you, my child's feet, they weren't having it. So we have a really bad breakdown. We have eczema, and it's pretty bad, and we get breakdown. I was gonna say fairly easily, but from what we experienced and were told, like freak of nature easily. So when we started in her boots, Millie started to break down. I think like we wore them 24 hours. By the next day, done. It was pitiful. She, at 3 months old, she wore them 23 hours a day. She had an hour that she would keep them off. But so I went to do bath with her, and I took them off, and I noticed like a little something, but I couldn't really tell what. And then we got in the bathtub, and then I realized that it looked like a blister, and it wasn't a like full blister yet, but it was pitiful. And so that piece of skin came off, ripped off, and there was just nothing under it. Her poor little skin was exposed, and it broke my heart to have to keep putting on her until we figured out what we were gonna do. But that's what we did, because that's what you do. So we did that, and we just kept having problems with breakdown. Like no matter what we did, no matter what we tried, we couldn't get it to go away. So the problem is that she has the eczema. Eczema is treated with creams and ointments. She also has a clubfoot. Clubfoot breakdown is prevented by not using lotions, creams, ointments, things like that. So if we don't use the creams and ointments, the eczema is bad. And if we put a bad foot with eczema into these boots, they're going to crack more and break down more easily. So do we put the ointment on them? So the footage went off the rails. While I was going back through for editing, there was a point where I just like literally jumped off a cliff, and nothing after that made sense at all. So I'm back to explain a little bit more so that it's not completely crazy. Okay, so let's pick back up. The main problem was that when Millie started getting breakdown, her orthopedist that we were seeing didn't want us to create a new problem if her clubfoot was not significant enough to make her suffer. So because her club, she always has had a really good range of motion, he considered it pretty mild. So once she started getting the breakdown and was screaming like 24/7 nonstop because of the brace, he said, let's back off. We don't want to make this problem worse. We don't want to make a new problem by forcing her to be in this brace. So we did that. Her range of motion always stayed pretty good. Here's the thing. So that would have been back in maybe March of this year. She had just turned 1. She was barely walking. So the whole thing that I have been worried about, like, you've got a clubfoot, no big deal. We can work around this. For me, the major thing that I was concerned about from the very beginning was that we wanted her to be corrected, and we did not want this to limit what she could do. So, sorry, she's beside me. So a club foot is not the end of the world. Like, you can do things with a club foot. Her range of motion was always good. What I was concerned about is when she started walking. If we did nothing when she started walking, she was gonna start to compensate for her club foot, which is exactly what happened. Our first orthopedist, I don't want to say that I didn't like him, but I don't even know how to put it into words. Not that I wasn't heard. I felt like everything was very, I felt like he wasn't set and confident in his suggestions. So for his recommendations, the very first time we went, he was like, well, we could just keep stretching, you could stretch, or we could do this, or there's a surgery. And it was just like not a clear recommendation. I never felt like I got, if this was my child, this is what I would do. First we need to do this, then we need to do this, and then we'll do this. It was just kind of like, we could do this, or we could do this, or we could do this. So that already, I was kind of like, what? Like, what is going on? The second thing, so at our first appointment, we decided to go ahead and do casting because we had already been stretching her for a good 4 months, 2 of those being out of the NICU. So at that point, I was like, stretching is not gonna do this. We need to go ahead and get treatment started. So we made the decision to go with casting immediately. So at that appointment, he casted her. So the way that they cast for a club foot, in babies, they have to go all the way up to their thigh. So we pretty much had to undress her. They used plaster, which is messy, and they plaster from her toes all the way up to her thigh, all the way up to her diaper. So we're there, she's in a diaper, the diaper's undone because we need to kind of move it out of the way. He does the cast and then says something and is like, oh, we'll see you back in 3 weeks, and walks out of the room. He walks out of the room and Millie's diaper is still undone. She's got plaster all over her leg, all over her left leg, all over her belly, her diapers, and so they're sitting there and I'm like, can I put her diaper on? Are we good? Like, he never comes back and a nurse passes and I'm like, hey, are we good? Like, are we waiting on anything? She's like, oh no, you can go. So just some things like that. And then at every single appointment, he told me about this family who, and it was HIPAA, he shouldn't have been talking about other families, but he didn't give names, nothing like that. But he would always tell me about this family, that they would come in for an appointment, they would get it done, and then they wouldn't show up for months. And then they'd come in and it was like having to start all over. Every single appointment. Okay, we haven't canceled appointment once. Like, you don't have to keep telling me about this other family who keep, like, if we were canceling every other appointment, okay, I get it. Tell me that consistency is what we need. I need to get better at being consistent. We never canceled. Like, what? Why are you harping on this? So those were just some of the things that kind of made me like, what is going on? So when she started the bracing, she got out of the cast, we went into the bracing, she had horrible breakdown. He said, we don't want to make the problem worse, no big deal. So at that point, Millie was not really walking yet. This was always my concern. Not that the range of motion wasn't there. We've always had the range of motion, not a big deal. My concern was that with clubfoot, when you begin to walk, if your foot is not corrected, if things are not aligned correctly, if your muscles are too tight, if they're too loose, if you still have pronation. Like there's so many things that could be going on. If those things aren't corrected when you start to walk, your body is going to automatically start to compensate for those problems. I did not want, like I said, I did not want Millie to be limited. I was a competitive gymnast. If Millie wanted to be a competitive gymnast, our decisions and how we follow through with her treatment is not going to be what stops her from doing what she wants. So that was always my concern. Millie started walking when he said, let's lay off. Another problem, this is partly on me, is that they were supposed to call us to set up another appointment. Well, I wasn't a fan of the orthopedist we were seeing, so when they didn't call, I didn't immediately call and set up a new appointment. But over time, I started seeing regression. As she was learning to walk, she was really, so if this is her foot, she kind of curves it in like this. So as she started to walk and as she became more mobile, that worsened. So when that started happening, we have an awesome physical therapist who doesn't treat Millie, treats Hayes for something different, but she always would kind of keep an eye on it also, and had another physical therapist that works a lot with clubfoot, came with her to watch and said, you really have some regression going on and it's not gonna get better. You need to get back into an orthopedist. So that was when I decided that we were gonna see a new orthopedist. Well, I had already decided we were gonna see a new orthopedist and that we needed to, but talking to her, we really realized that we needed to get in and we needed to get in sooner rather than later. So the entire point of this video was that we went to a new orthopedist. Kind of went off the rails because it was 3:30 in the morning and I was not thinking straight. So let me re-explain that. We went to a new orthopedist yesterday who so far I really like. She was really good. And she definitely agreed that she didn't know Millie before. So she didn't know what her correction looked like before, but definitely that there was regression and definitely that we needed to get more serious. Initially, let me back up a little. I am not like a normal mom, I guess. I don't even know how to explain it, but being a therapist, I know how important follow through and your home program are. So when you tell me to do something, I'm going to do it. So I also am not the mom who, no, I don't like it when my children are in pain. I hate that being in this cast is hard and frustrating for Millie, but ultimately we're gonna suck it up and I'm gonna make you do it because I would much rather endure the pain now and you be happy and capable and independent down the road than me being lax because I don't want you to cry and then get down the road and you want to be a gymnast and look back and be like, Mom, why didn't you do the casting? Why didn't you keep me in my braces? Why didn't you, whatever all of the questions could be. So we go in and most of the time, this is not an easy thing. So many parents don't necessarily want to hear, this is what we need to do. So initially she was saying, we have to go back into the brace. And honestly, at this point, I really felt like it had gotten worse than that we probably needed to start over. We needed to cast again. So I asked her and I said, do you think that she needs another cast? Do you think we need to go back and do a cast? And she looked and it was almost like she had wanted to say, I really think you need to do a cast, but that we could have made it work with a brace only. So I'm glad that I asked her about that because she did end up going back into a cast. So that was what we did yesterday. We had all three of the girls. My parents have been out of town. My mom usually goes with me to help with doctor's appointments. Either she'll go with me for if we need all three of the girls, or she'll stay with two of the girls and I'll take one to the appointment. So my parents are out of town. So Chris actually went with us yesterday and we had all three girls with us. And when I say it was a hot mess, that does not even begin to explain how bad it was. I say bad, it wasn't bad, they weren't bad, it was just hectic and chaotic, and I'm trying to listen. This is one of the hardest things for me, having triplets, is that when I have an appointment for one of you, I need to be focused and I need to be able to pay attention and hear what the doctor's saying, ask questions, think through everything so that we make sure that we're doing the best thing and are on the right track, that we're on the same page for their treatment. So, our first appointment with the orthopedist was at noonish, right at nap time. So, we go for the appointment. They didn't get a nap. It's like during lunchtime. So cheese sticks and applesauce. That's what they ate for lunch yesterday. Like, sorry. So it was just crazy. It was hectic. I felt like I couldn't like focus and pay attention because I'm grabbing one baby from here and here and here. And I'm like, I feel like an octopus. I need more arms. So we casted her yesterday. They ended up doing a different cast this time. The first two were plaster casts. Now, because she's older and mobile, they did a fiberglass cast. So that's fun. After our appointment, we went over to our orthotist because Hayes is getting SMOs, which are little braces for her feet. It just goes on her foot and right to her ankle to kind of give a little bit more stability to help with coordination so she's not falling as much. So then it's even later with no nap. Miss Teresa is a saint because my children were a hot mess. Crazy, crying. Whew. So that was the appointment. We saw a new orthopedist because of the regression. We're hoping that this time her skin's gonna be a little tougher. She, like I said, was a 30-weeker, so her skin was not great. Her eczema is really not good. So I'm really praying that this time around, she's a lot older. I'm really praying that her skin is tougher, that we don't see as much breakdown and that we don't see as much discomfort with the casting and bracing. So that's where we are. That's where we will end. We go back to the orthopedist in 2 weeks to check her cast, see if she needs another one, or if we're gonna go into the bracing. So we will catch y'all later. Sorry this was such a crazy video. Thank you for watching. Please, please subscribe if you haven't, and you can share as much as you like. Thanks, we will catch y'all next time. Bye.